F1 cars are slowing down on the straight after one of the biggest regulation changes in their history. And while they're trying to save their battery, MotoGP is in the final year before they get their own major changes to their regulations. But at the moment, they're setting lap records everywhere. F1 changed its rules and it's now going slower than we've seen in a while. MotoGP hasn't changed yet and they're going faster than ever. F1 changed its rules and the cars got slower because of it. MotoGP hasn't changed yet and right now it's never gone faster. I'm Tim from Along Trackside. We're going to look at the three biggest stories coming out of the Czech Grand Prix in Brno. Firstly, a rider that nobody thought could produce results is now a record breaker. Secondly, the championship lead has been thrown into disarray, and not on track, but by a marshal. And thirdly, a seven-time champion is coming after his eighth, which looked impossible a month ago, but now is looking increasingly likely. And underneath all of this, we've got the comparison to the F1 new regulation changes, where even the drivers think the cars are undrivable and sometimes unwatchable. So what do we think is going to happen with MotoGP next year? Ai Ogura has come out with pole position at Brno. He has been referred to as someone who can't string a fast lap together, but he came out swimming for the first pole of his MotoGP career. Not only did he set the fastest lap record at Brno, there were 7 riders in total that did this, including Diogo Moreira. He's a rookie in his first season riding for Honda, and he's showing how talented he is to be beating a record set by people with much more experience. This is genuinely the last season where we're going to see 1000cc bikes in MotoGP, and it has been so fast. So next year, when the engine size drops to 850cc, how long will it be until we see lap records fall again? It could be years. If we think about the changes in F1, the most powerful generation was pre-2022. They had the most downforce. They were able to create the fastest lap times. This 2020 record set by Hamilton stood for 5 years. And the reason for this was regulation changes in 22 to slow the cars down. So it took 3 years of catching up in terms of improving existing cars in order to get close to that speedy lap time. And Verstappen finally broke Hamilton's record at Monza in 2025. It's interesting to see that even though regulations are designed to slow the cars down, after some years they can bring back the speed. So what are we going to see with MotoGP being at that same cliff? Considering the changes that are happening, how much slower will the bikes go? And for the rest of this year, will we see more lap records broken until the end of the 2026 season? Ogura had an amazing weekend. Coming into the sprint on pole position, he ended up finishing the race in second after an amazing start from Pecco, holding off both Ogura and his teammate Marquez. For Pecco, this was his first sprint win since Malaysia 2025. And while the championship leader Bezzecchi was doing well in the race, he crashed out from 5th place, and then something completely unexpected happened. As you can imagine, he's probably frustrated from having crashed out of the race in a good position. He's leading the championship and wants to gain points every weekend. But in the heat of the moment, when a marshal was picking up his bike and accidentally revved it, Bezzecchi went up and struck the marshal. While he did this in frustration, he was super apologetic afterwards and made amends, giving the marshal a hug on the next day. But the reality is that you can't do that, and there's a punishment for that action. His penalty was to be excluded from the main GP on Sunday. Now, this is something you don't see in F1. There's generally some form of stewards penalty, be it time or position, but you don't actually see a driver hit a marshal. That is very unusual. And this essentially blew up his championship lead. And it's something that is very hard to defend. In fact, he didn't defend it at all in a press conference. So for the remorseful Bezzecchi, what does that actually look like, considering how well Marquez raced? In the main GP, it was Pecco, Marquez, and Ogura again. It was a repeat of the top three from the sprint on the Saturday. While Ogura looked fast, Pecco took the lead early and for 16 laps looked like he was in control until a dominant Marquez found his way through and then took off with abandon. Now, a couple of weeks ago, it looked like Marc Marquez was completely out of the championship fight, needing extra surgery on his shoulder. Now he's come back and won his second Brno GP in 2 years and has been adding to his points haul over the last few weeks. He's cut his championship deficit lead by 40. So now we've got Bezzecchi still at the top because he had an extended lead. We've got Jorge Martin only 8 points behind him. Pedro Acosta's still in the mix. Fabio Di Giannantonio still in the mix. And we've got Marquez sitting there 40 points behind now, looking to defend his title that he earned last year. We're only at round 9, but this is becoming really exciting and very close. Ducati is not out of the mix at all, and it really looked like Aprilia was about to run away with the entire championship this year. A side note, Marc Marquez's brother Alex, who had an injury from Barcelona, he'd fractured his collarbone and a vertebrae. He was actually making a comeback this week. He did start and he qualified, but pulled out because he wanted to look after his body. We all think this is a smart decision. The comeback is real, it's just not there yet for Alex. So when we look at F1 deliberately slowing their cars down this year, we've got the opposite happening in MotoGP. It's the last year of the 1000cc bikes. There's been really no changes to them at all, and they're going faster than ever. And with Bezzecchi still leading the championship, we've got the next round coming up in Assen. The Dutch GP is one of the more physical tracks, so it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top. Will it be Aprilia or will it be Ducati? And I'd like to know what you think. Do we trust what's going to be happening with MotoGP next year? Will they be super slow next year? Will we see any records broken once we change the regulations? Let me know in the comments, and as always, we appreciate a like and a subscribe.